Did you know that nothing is impossible with God? It's true. And whether you already knew this or not, it's great news. I love finding scriptures that remind me of this truth, especially when a situation that I'm looking at seems impossible or hopeless to me. I've got a few scriptures to share with you today, so let's dig right in. Luke 1:37 says, "For with God, nothing will be impossible." I love that it just simply states that fact. And I love to read that verse over and over and over again when I'm struggling in my flesh to trust God to do the impossible. Now, Jeremiah 32:37 says, "Behold, I am the Lord, the God of all flesh. Is anything too hard for me?" In case you forgot the answer to that question, it's no. Absolutely not. Luke 18:27 says, "He said, what is impossible with men is possible with God." Now this was Jesus speaking. The Son of God reminded those he was with, and those of us reading the scriptures now, that it may be impossible for us, but it's possible for God. In Matthew 19:26 we read, "But Jesus looked at them and said, with men this is impossible, but with God all things are possible." Again, Jesus reminded us that God can do it all. I've had times and situations in my life that seemed impossible to me. There were days that I was sure it was impossible for me to get past the pain and the heartache and the grief that I was enduring in that moment, but God was with me, and He carried me through the darkest times in my life, the most painful times in my life, and the times when I felt completely hopeless. But God brought me to the other side of those valleys, back to the peaceful streams where I could rest in Him and hear His still small voice comforting me, guiding me, and telling me that it was all going to be okay. I know people who faced financial impossibilities. They had a choice to tithe and be short on a bill, or not tithe and pay their bill. They were faithful to tithe because they knew that God would provide, because nothing is impossible with God. And sure enough, when they showed up to pay that bill, it was less than what it was supposed to be, and they had plenty of funds to pay it. There are organizations today that would never have opened their doors if it weren't for God providing the people, the plan, and the funds for that outreach. I could go on and on and on and on with all kinds of stories of how God has proven time and time again that nothing is impossible for Him. But instead, I'll share just one more, and it comes from John chapter 11. "Now a man was sick, Lazarus from Bethany, the village of Mary and her sister Martha. This was Mary who anointed the Lord with ointment and wiped His feet with her hair, whose brother Lazarus was sick. So the sisters sent word to Him, saying, 'Lord, he whom you love is sick.' When Jesus heard this, He said, 'This sickness is not unto death, but for the glory of God, that the Son of God may be glorified by it.' Now Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus. So when He heard that he was sick, He remained where He was 2 more days. And then after He said to the disciples, 'Let us go into Judea again.' His disciples said to Him, 'Rabbi, the Jews were just trying to stone you. Are you going there again?' Jesus answered, 'Are there not 12 hours in a day? If anyone walks during the day, he does not stumble, because he sees the light of this world. But if anyone walks during the night, he stumbles, because the light is not in him.' After He said this, He said to them, 'Our friend Lazarus has fallen asleep, but I am going that I may awaken him from sleep.' Then His disciples said, 'Lord, if he is sleeping, he'll be well.' Jesus had spoken of his death, but they thought that He was speaking of getting rest through sleep. So then Jesus plainly told them, 'Lazarus is dead, and I am glad for your sakes that I was not there, so that you may believe. Nevertheless, let us go to him.' Then Thomas, who is called Didymus, said to his fellow disciples, 'Let us go also, that we may die with him.' When Jesus arrived, he found that he had been in the tomb for 4 days already. Now Bethany was near Jerusalem, less than 2 miles away. Many of the Jews had come to Martha and Mary to comfort them concerning their brother. When Martha heard that Jesus was coming, she went and met him, but Mary remained in the house. Martha said to Jesus, "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. But even now I know that whatever you may ask of God, God will give you." Jesus said to her, "Your brother will rise again." Martha said to him, "I know that he will rise again in the resurrection on the last day." And Jesus said to her, "I am the resurrection and the life. He who believes in me, though he may die, yet shall he live. And whoever lives and believes in me shall never die. Do you believe this?" She said to him, "Yes, Lord, I believe that you are the Christ, the Son of God, who is to come into this world." When she had said this, she went her way and secretly called her sister Mary, saying, "The teacher has come and is calling for you." When she heard this, she rose quickly and went to him. Now Jesus had not yet entered the village, but was in the place where Martha had met him. When the Jews who were with Mary in the house comforting her saw that she quickly rose up and went out, they followed her, saying, "She is going to the tomb to weep there." When Mary came to where Jesus was and saw him, she fell down at his feet, saying to him, "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died." When Jesus saw her weeping, and the Jews who came with her weeping, he groaned in the spirit and was troubled. And he said, "Where have you laid him?" They said to him, "Lord, come and see." Jesus wept. Then the Jews said, "See how he loved him." But some of them said, "Could not this man who opened the eyes of the blind man have also kept this man from dying?" Then Jesus, again groaning within himself, came to the tomb. It was a cave, and a stone was lying against it. Jesus said, "Take away the stone." Martha, the sister of him who was dead, said to him, "Lord, by this time there is a stench, for he has been dead 4 days." Jesus said to her, "Did I not tell you that if you believed, you would see the glory of God?" So they took away the stone from the place where the dead man was lying. Jesus lifted up his eyes and said, "Father, I thank you that you have heard me. I know that you always hear me, but because of the people standing around I said this, that they may believe that you sent me." When he had said this, he cried out with a loud voice, "Lazarus, come out!" He who was dead came out, his hands and feet wrapped with grave clothes, and his face wrapped with a cloth. And Jesus said to them, "Unbind him and let him go." You see, not even death could stop God, and it still can't. Whatever you're facing today, be confident in the fact that nothing is impossible with God, and that he will bring you through whatever may lie ahead. Have a great day.